Hey, I wanted to go over my PlayStation 5 predictions. The PlayStation 4 has sold really well for Sony, 80 million consoles in 5 years, and you know that they're probably working on the PlayStation 5. It's only a matter of time. But let's go over the average gap between the PlayStations. So the PlayStation 1 came out in 1995 and the PlayStation 2 came out in 2000, so there's a 5-year gap. PlayStation 3 came out in the year 2006, so there's a 6-year gap. PlayStation 4 came out in the year 2013, so there's a 7-year gap. So PlayStation 5, if we follow that trend, I think it's probably going to come out around the year 2020 or 2021. I don't know if it's necessarily going to jump up to 8-year gap because that just seems like it's going to be too long. I think that people are almost ready for something new, and I saw that Sony was skipping on E3 next year. I don't think that that's to announce that they're going to be releasing the PlayStation 5. I just think that not a lot of companies are doing E3 anymore, so they're kind of following the trend of having their own conferences for these types of announcements. But I still don't think that they're going to be announcing they might announce the PlayStation 5 next year, but they're not going to be releasing it next year. Because I think by now if they were going to be releasing it next year, we would have heard a lot more leaks and stuff about the PlayStation 5, and I haven't seen a lot in the news about it lately. I have seen a few things, but nothing like tremendous that is leaked about it. So I heard a lot of people saying that they don't think Sony's going to be releasing a PlayStation 5. They're going to be going down a different route because a lot of people are moving away from the consoles, just sticking to PCs and phones and tablets and things. I think that's crazy. I mean, if the PlayStation 4 has sold 80 million consoles in 5 years, there's no question in my mind that they're working on a PlayStation 5 because it's done really well. And I know that's one of the out of all the Sony stuff that's been selling, that's one of their biggest brands. That's like one of their biggest money makers is PlayStation. Not a lot of people buy Sony TVs anymore or DVD players, things like that. PlayStation is like almost all of Sony at this point. They make other stuff too, but that's one of their big money makers. So graphically, well, first of all, let me just say I'm not in a rush to get a PlayStation 5 because I don't think that graphically there's going to be that much of a big jump from the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5. Do you remember back when the PlayStation came out and then the PlayStation 2 came out after that, and how big of a gap there was in graphics between the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2? It was like night and day. It was like, wow, this has come so far. Then the jump from the PlayStation 2 to the PlayStation 3 was okay, but it wasn't nearly as good. Jump from the PlayStation 3 to the PlayStation 4 was, honestly, it was a nice jump, but it wasn't nearly as good as the earlier versions. So I'm not expecting this graphically to be that big of a jump. You're going to be able to tell the difference between PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games, but it's not going to blow your mind like it has in the past. So I'm not in a huge rush to get the PlayStation 5 because I'm going to have to drop $300 on it, maybe even more. So I'm fine with my PlayStation 4 for a couple more years, hopefully. Backwards compatibility. I think that is something that Sony will bring us on the PlayStation 5. I just don't see them doing it right away because I think that they're still going to be selling the PlayStation 4 when the PlayStation 5 comes out, and they don't want to compete with themselves. So if they have a PlayStation 5 that comes out and it's fully backwards compatible with PlayStation 4 games, no one's going to buy the PlayStation 4 anymore. They'll just buy the PlayStation 5 because it'll have everything. It'll have the backwards compatibility. So I think that they're going to hold off on that and they're going to slowly add it, kind of like Xbox did. And they'll slowly add it like over 2 years or so. And then as people stop buying the PlayStation 4, then they'll have backwards compatibility with the new PlayStation 5. So I do think we'll see it, just not right away. I think natively this thing will have 4K support for 4K TVs, but I think that Sony has to think about those who don't have 4K TVs yet. And there's a lot of people out there who don't have it. Even in the next couple of years, I don't think a lot of people will have it because I heard something like only 50% of the market share right now of TVs being sold is 4K. And I know people that just upgraded finally from regular tube TVs to 1080 TVs. So I mean, they're gonna have to think. Sony's gonna have to think about supporting 1080 still. But I do think that out of the box natively, it'll definitely support 4K like the PS4 Pro does. A lot of people are saying that they think that the PS5 will be a lot smaller in size. I don't think so. I think it'll be a little bit smaller than the PS4. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy like the Switch, how small that is. It's like this big and you can move it around. It's really portable. It's just basically a docking station. I think it'll be probably similar size to PS4, just a teeny bit smaller than that because it's going to be more powerful than the Switch. I mean, it's going to be more powerful than the PS4. It's going to be one of the most powerful. It's probably going to be the most powerful console when it comes out. So people are going to expect it to be a little bit bigger. So I don't think they'll mind that it's a little bit smaller than the PS4. VR. I don't really know a lot about VR. I just know that the VR on the PlayStation 4 has sold okay. It sold like 3 million copies. I mean, 3 million isn't that much compared to how many PS4s have been sold, 80. So it's a very small percentage, but I still think that this is an up and coming trend. So I think that the PlayStation 5 will have a new VR set that comes with it. I hope they call it VR5 and not VR2, just to be consistent with the DualShock 5, PlayStation 5, VR5. But I know that, and hopefully it'll kind of catch on a little bit more. I've never actually even tried it yet, but I'm interested to see what it's like when I eventually do try it. Let's talk about the new DualShock. So, a new controller is going to come with the PlayStation 5. I've heard rumors about how it's going to have a touch screen here instead of just the touchpad, so you'll actually be able to see different things on here. Maybe there'll be like different maps for games, and there'll be icons you can tap to pull up different menus. So I think that's a cool addition. Sony, they always, like with Microsoft and Nintendo, they always come out with pretty much completely new controllers for their consoles, but Sony, they just kind of gradually progress with their DualShocks. Like the DualShock 1, the original PlayStation controller and the PS5, they look similar in some ways because they just gradually add to it. So I don't expect it to look too much drastically different than the DualShock 5, but it'll have a few changes here and there. The release date, like I said, is probably gonna. If I had a guess, if I just had one guess, I'd say fall of 2020. Because if you look at in the past of when PlayStation's release, it's always around the fall time, right before the holiday, so people get excited about it and want to buy it for Christmas and Hanukkah and everything. So yeah, fall of 2020, about 2 years from now, is when I think we're gonna see the PlayStation 5. So let me know. Do you have a wish list of what's on your PlayStation 5? What you hoping is coming out on the PlayStation 5? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.